this festival is all about invitations for audiences to dream differently, which means that there are multiple ways to kind of transcend that.
Hi everyone, this is Silesh Ram at Manchester International Festival. I'm at the Aviva Studios and we're about to interview Low Kee Hong, who is the creative director of Factory International, which produces Manchester International Festival. So let's go and find out more. Low Kee Hong, welcome to AsianCultureVulture.com. How are you?
I'm good.
Well, what was the first day like?
I mean, it was an incredible first day. I couldn't ask for anything more. I mean, glorious sunshine. I mean, the big opening event of the Hertz. I mean, a number of thousands of people came out, to really encounter this large group of wild animals, making the journey from the Congo Basin all the way through the Europe to the UK and then back later to Northern Europe. But also last night, it was the world premiere of A Single Man, our first collaboration with the Royal Ballet, a piece by Jonathan Watkins. We've convinced Ed Watson to come out of retirement to play the role of George, and of course John Grant, an incredible musician and artist, wrote these collection of songs that really digs deep into the heart of Christopher Isherwood's seminal novel.
I thought yesterday when we were at home that Safala exhibition was a little bit personal to you. Can you tell us about that growth and that journey?
Yeah, this incredible Samoan Maori queer trans non-binary collective from New Zealand, FAFSWAG. It's really a friendship that started about 10 years ago, when I was in New Zealand on the invitation of Creative New Zealand at that time, and I really wanted to encounter kind of younger generation artists whose voices are very different. I got to meet with FAFSWAG, and I'm blown away by their practice, because at once, they hold so much care in their practice with each other as a collective, and also with their culture, their histories, and the knowledge systems, and when you see their work, it kind of feels kind of futuristic, like it's 3,000 years in the future, but then you also know it's anchored on something that is tens of thousands of years old. We spent a lot of time, hence that 10-year relationship, to really talk, discuss, think about how can we hold space, for that kind of incredible knowledge, and what does it mean to encounter it, and of course, for me, over the years of working with my Indigenous colleagues, I've learned so much, that it's reminded me and taught me around very different ways of thinking about relationships between curators and artists, and it's not a transactional thing, but a relational practice. It's about relationships. So I think yesterday I was quite emotional because it's been a long process, and to finally see at least the first part of this big commission landing this way has been kind of incredible.
So I was very conscious yesterday of your recognition of the kind of global majority artists. Was that important to you, and was that a case you had to make, or it was just a natural thing when you came to commission these artists and these artworks?
I loved how you framed that question, because for me it's all of the above. Because as an organization of Factory International, I think for us we're really, really committed to thinking about, bringing to the table, a large, diverse group of global majority artists. In many ways, I think, especially in the times that we live in right now, it's very important to really, start to propose together with artists different ways about thinking about future, different ways about thinking about assembly, about how we can be together, how can we, construct societies, construct, knowledge and systems that it's outside of, I think, existing kind of post-capitalist kind of structures that we know that is all failing.
Recently, there's been a pushback against DEI and global majority art, there's no need for it and all that kind of thing. And you were saying that there's a different way of coming from it, a different sort of narrative than it's just about anger, which I thought was really interesting. So
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit how you arrived at this? Because I think it's a really strong statement.
We acknowledge the trauma that, you know, a lot of indigenous peoples from the global majority have gone through. But at the same time, we must remind ourselves that there is also joy, there is also strength and power, and incredible knowledge. It's also leaning into, I think, how artists are comprehending the world right now. This festival is all about invitations for artists to dream differently, you know, which means that there are multiple ways to kind of transcend that.
So tell us about Shilpa Gupta, because that's obviously a very interesting selection. So say why you wanted to bring her here.
I invited her to join us in 2023 festival as part of our international residency program, just to spend time in Manchester, encounter communities, encounter, you know, other artists, and then start to think about, you know, what is a possible kind of project. And when she was here in 23, of course, she spent a lot of time in Rochdale, and I think she was quite taken by the diversity of former and new immigration. At that time, I also just arrived in Manchester, so my journey from Hong Kong to Manchester, she said, fed into the work of, you know, of leaving homes, arrivals in new places, trying to make a home out of it. What does that mean? And so the core of the work, called You Are the Place, is precisely that. So she invited communities from that diverse range of contexts from around the world to really reflect, you know, what have they left behind? What is it they always think about? And what do they really miss? And so out of that, you know, it's fashioned into songs across the 8 most popular languages that are spoken in Rochdale by community songwriters, and choir started to record and sing them. So that incredible sonic installation manifests that diversity and complexity.
And what can you tell our Asian culture viewers about what's coming up?
Next week, there are 2 projects that people should look out for. One is an incredible piece of work by Juliet Ellis from Sheffield, Manchester, but based in New York for a long time. She's an incredible filmmaker. She's made this work called Symphony of Flesh and Bones. That is what she calls a cinematic mandala. The audience is inside the film with multiple screens. And she made this work with her father and her brother. Her father used to be Mr. Universe, as in bodybuilding, and her brother was a champion cage fighter. And it really talks about, and her father is from Jamaica, and there's a line in the piece that says, when I arrived in the UK, my hand started to become a fist, and I've forgotten how to use it as a hand. It's also about how black men having to build literally a physical armor to survive racism. And the other one that I'm incredibly excited to see, because I think it's going to be a very hip show, but also because Black Hayne, is an incredible choreographer as well as a composer, works with people like Yeezy, Playboy Carti, like big and hip hop world, is making, he tells me the other day, this is, you know, my most important work today. We're doing this diecast, an old diecast factory with 8 dancers, and it's like an atmospheric meditation about rebirth.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes. Yeah.